Welcome to this week's End of Days Update, coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Hey, if you're anywhere near Richmond, Virginia, we'll be about an hour east there this weekend. In Cobbs Creek, Virginia, we'll be there Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday morning, Wednesday night. We'll have a great time. It's a great church. We'll get into end times, get into the power of God. We'll have a wonderful time. We're coming to you every week to look at the different things that point to the coming of the Lord, specifically the gathering of nations for the Ezekiel 38 war, because the rapture is signless, but the second coming has tons of signs. You know, the consensus has been, well, you can't tell when the Lord's coming back, yet he put more verses in the Bible for what it would look like right before he comes. And it's just like when you're on the freeway, if you're going 100 miles, the signs tell you you're 80 miles away, 50 miles away, 30 miles away. The signs are very, very precise, showing us how close we are. So it's ridiculous to think we can't tell. When Jesus said, the generation that sees Israel made a nation and Jerusalem won back, he said, that generation will not pass away till all is fulfilled. That's two signs, but we have about 50. So let's pick up, though, with what's happening around Israel, because things are setting up to for the Ezekiel 38 war to be fulfilled. We'll start and try to get all of it in, so we may run all the way to the very end with just things happening around Israel. So you had terror tunnels that were found in Gaza. You think they're all been caught, but these are massive concrete bunker tunnels where they're hauling weaponry to the edge of Israel so they can invade Israel and annihilate Israel. Everybody's mad at the United States because of the sanctions against Iran. Well, not only are they getting ready to have enough plutonium and uranium for enrichment, people don't even talk, the news media doesn't even talk about Iran still is sending weaponry every week down to Syria so that Hezbollah can invade Israel and try to annihilate Israel, and Iran wants to annihilate Israel. But no one even talks about that. That's why Israel has to go in and do those basically operation after operation after operation to stop that from happening. There have been many that have done that. So that's continuing ongoing, but there's so many more things happening in the last few weeks that are really leading up to the Ezekiel 38 war. U.S. intelligence officials saw that there's a massive buildup in Crimea of Russian troops, Russian tanks, Russian armament, and this was what the tagline was on it. This is the U.S. intelligence. They're making preparations so they can invade the Middle East, and that's exactly what Ezekiel 38 says. And that's a secular group, not even knowing that they're saying something that's very biblical. So in the middle of all that, you've got more cyber warfare going on with Iran. Iran coming out saying that they can counteract it. And America showing that they can do that, because we didn't want to hurt anybody a couple weeks ago when they took out one of our drones. So in the middle of all that, you've got Israel is revamping their radar systems for their Iron Dome and their David Slingshot weaponry defense mechanisms. Actually doing here in America, the White Sands Missile Base. So they're so upgrading it. It already is amazingly flawless. So in the middle of that, you got them even getting better. So I was really blessed to see what Benjamin Netanyahu said to Iran this week. Benjamin Netanyahu said, number one, we have F-35s and we can reach anywhere in your nation. So I knew that it was going to get stronger about that because of Iran getting close to making a nuclear weapon. So that's come out. And I like Benjamin Netanyahu said also this last week that the Philistines don't have any archaeological and DNA evidence tied to the land of Israel. The archaeological evidence and DNA all comes from Southern Europe. So it's just interesting to see the lies that are told about the land of Israel, how it doesn't belong to Israel. So it's crazy. And there's been even things that we haven't gotten into about the heavens doing certain things when remarks are made and decrees are made to try to take Jerusalem away from Israel. Remember we talked about during Clinton's presidency, Ehud Barak offered the Palestinians 82% of Israel, of the West Bank, and East Jerusalem turned it down. They upped it to 87%. So it's not about land for peace, it's about existence for peace. So everything is looking to exactly what's going to happen during that 7-year period called the tribulation. Man, you're seeing the setup for it right now. You had a lady this last week that had a chip implant. They thought she was insane, but she did have a chip implant that the traffickers had put inside her. You had the earthquakes in California that were so large that the USA Today said you could see the cracks from outer space. So a lot of things are getting ready to happen, because the Bible talks about not just wars and rumors of wars, but even talks about earthquakes in diverse places. We certainly have that. When Colleen and I moved back to Oklahoma, Oklahoma was the epicenter of earthquakes for the whole world, which is crazy. So many things are happening. So let's all around Israel, there's the setup. Remember we talked about the Jordanians arguing over the Temple Mount. More things will come out over Israel being able to have a right to have the Temple Mount. Along with, they're planning to build another mosque on the Temple Mount as well. So, but let's pick up what the scripture says. I know we get into this every week. But there's something about the repetition of the signs that show us how close we are. Number one, Israel made a nation. Number two, Jerusalem being won back. Jesus said the group that sees those two events will not pass away till all is fulfilled. And so you have the two main signs. Another one of the signs is anti-Semitism, and that's just going crazy, even with people in America, people in politics in America coming against Israel, calling the concentration things on the border in the South concentration camps. Those are not like concentration camps that the Jews were in the Holocaust. Crazy. So you have the Temple Mount Institute that's ready to start having sacrifices. They're in position. They've been going to school, get ready to start doing after the church leaves. It's going to revert back to 7 years of old covenant time. That's called the tribulation. They'll start having sacrifices. So they're ready. Ezekiel prophesied that the Dead Sea would have fish. This year, fish started showing up. You have the land that's grown, the fertility of the land of Israel. Amazing how the land is so prosperous. Israel produces 90% of the fruit for all of Europe. You have that. You have the revival of the Roman Empire. You have the EU, United States of Europe, the platform for the Antichrist. Their Capitol buildings in Strasbourg, France, looks identical to the Tower of Babel. It's pretty wild. You have the Ethiopian Jews brought back in one day, 18,000 airlifted in one day, because God said he would do that right before the coming of the Lord. Then you have the Hebrew language restored, because God said he would restore that right before the coming of the Messiah. So all these tangible physical signs, I talk about it, the 172 different species of predatory birds. You've got the cleanup crew in Israel right now. I talk about my dog. Everybody talks about our dog, England. It's hard to get him to get in the truck, much less think of in Noah's day, all those animals lining up to get on the boat. So you've got all these signs that are tangible, literal, and physical that you can see that point to what the Bible said so many years ago, and it's in our generation, in our lifetime. We're so privileged and so blessed. So you go from the signs, though, you go to signals. I mean, if you're coming into town off a freeway, you've got signs telling you how close you are to the city, but also once you get in the city, you've got signals. You had blood red moons on Passover and Tabernacles. I mean, that's just crazy. A couple years ago when you had that, you had 4 in a row. NASA calls it a tetrad. England wanted me to really make sure I got that out right. So when NASA calls it a tetrad, when's the last time you had 4 in a row like that? 1967 when Jerusalem was won back. 1948 when Israel was made a nation. 1492 at the Edict of Expulsion when the Jews were kicked out of Spain. So you have the heavens signaling things that are remarkable about what the Bible said you'd see right before God comes to the planet. After that, you had Mercury do a flyby of the sun, went down directly over the Temple Mount at sundown. Really, the big one probably was the Bethlehem star. Crazy. At the birth of Jesus, you had Jupiter, Regulus, and Venus come together. We call it the Bethlehem star. Jupiter, king planet. Regulus, regal, king planet. Venus, men are from Mars, women from Venus. All 3 of them came together at the same time. So this last year, NBC Nightly News said we have a celestial event. We got Jupiter, Regulus, Venus, Bethlehem star. First time in 2,000 years. So you've got signs leading to the coming of the Lord, signals once we're so close. And people said, well, nothing happened when the blood red moons came. Well, no, they're indicators. Just like you turn your blinker on, you're indicating that you're about to turn. All these are indicators. God's coming to the planet. Jesus of Nazareth is about to return. So what do? We help our local church, help our local pastor. We don't fit church into our life. It is our life. The whole purpose of all this is he loves you so much. He wants it hammered over and over and over again. He wants you expectant. He wants you hopeful. He wants your spirits lifted. He even said, lift up your heads, your redemption is drawing nigh. So he wants us wild happy. Well, this is it, man. You see the finish line, you run faster, not slower. It's just like a football game, the 2-minute warning. I've never seen a quarterback go, don't show me the play clock. No, they want to know exactly how much time they have because the plays are so crucial. The church has to get that mentality so that we pick up our pace and do the will of God. Wow, we're about to see the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, Jesus of Nazareth. Hey, thanks for listening this week. We'll come back next Wednesday. We'll see what's happened all around Israel. Many, many other things are happening that we don't even have time to get into, but it's all a setup for what the Bible said you'd see right before Jesus comes back. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next Wednesday. God bless you.
Thanks for joining us today at the End of Days Update. If you'd like to be notified every time there's a new post, just go to the EDU at josephmorris.com and subscribe to receive email alerts. If these posts and updates have been a blessing to you, please consider making a one-time donation to help get the message out, or even becoming a monthly partner with Joseph Morris Ministries. Thanks again for tuning in to the EDU, and we'll see you next week.